Welcome to Outside Views, and today we continue our series BRITURN, the Obstacles. And this is Chapter 2, Freedom of Movement for Workers. As we explore the possibility of the UK joining the European Union again, it's crucial to remember that this would not be a simple return. The UK would need to go through the rigorous accession process, just like any other country seeking EU membership. And today, we're focusing on one of the key chapters in this process, and that is the freedom of movement for workers. The freedom of movement for workers is a fundamental pillar of the European Union. It ensures that EU citizens can live and work in any member state without discrimination. And this means that an EU citizen working in another member state must be treated the same as national workers in terms of working conditions, social security, and tax benefits. Additionally, the EU has mechanisms in place to coordinate national social security systems, ensuring that workers and their families maintain access to benefits as they move across borders. And this principle is not just about economics, it's about fostering a sense of European unity and equality. For the UK, joining the EU again would mean fully reinstating this principle. And this is where the challenges begin. Since Brexit, the UK has implemented an immigration system that prioritizes skills and qualifications over free movement. The points-based system introduced post-Brexit requires most foreign workers to meet specific criteria, including a salary threshold and English language proficiency. And this system diverges significantly from the EU's approach, where mobility is rather a right than a privilege and contingent on meeting strict conditions. Reinstating the freedom of movement for workers would require the UK to dismantle its current immigration policies for the rest of the EU member states at least, and to revert to a system that allows unrestricted access for EU citizens. And this would likely reignite debates about sovereignty and control, as the loss of free movement was a key selling point of Brexit. Convincing the British public and the political class to accept its return would be a significant political challenge. And another critical aspect of this chapter is social security coordination. The EU's mechanisms ensure that workers moving between member states do not lose their social security rights. For example, an EU citizen who works in multiple countries over their career can combine contributions from different states to qualify for pensions and other benefits. Post-Brexit, the UK's withdrawal from these mechanisms has created gaps in coverage for workers and increased administrative burdens for businesses. Joining the EU again would require the UK to reintegrate into these systems, which would involve substantial legislative and administrative changes. The economic implications of reinstating free movement are also significant. For industries such as healthcare, agriculture and hospitality, which have faced severe labour shortages since Brexit, the return of free movement could provide much needed relief. However, this would require businesses to adapt once again to new rules and regulations, creating short-term disruptions, even as it addresses long-term challenges. The political narrative surrounding immigration adds another layer of complexity. The Brexit referendum was heavily influenced by concerns about immigration, with campaigns focusing on the perceived strain that free movement placed on public services and infrastructure. Reversing this narrative and highlighting the benefits of mobility would require a concerted effort to educate the public and dispel myths about immigration. Joining the EU again would also require addressing the practicalities of ensuring equal treatment for all workers. And this means implementing legislation that guarantees EU citizens the same access to social security, healthcare and tax advantages as UK nationals. The EU's stringent monitoring system would require the UK to demonstrate its commitment to fairness and transparency in these areas. Any failure to meet these standards could jeopardize the entire accession process. And the EU's perspective is equally important here. Reinstating free movement would be non-negotiable for the UK's accession. The EU is unlikely to offer any special exceptions or opt-outs for any returning member. And this means the UK would need to demonstrate not only its willingness to comply with EU rules, but also its ability to enforce them effectively. And building trust with EU member states and institutions would be a critical part of this process. But how difficult would it be for the UK to complete this chapter? From a technical perspective, the UK's history of alignment with EU rules could make this process, let's say, relatively straightforward. Many of the systems and institutions needed to implement free movement are still in place or could be reinstated with some effort. However, the political and social challenges are far greater. The public debate around immigration remains polarized, and any move to reinstate free movement would likely face significant opposition from certain segments of society and the media. The economic benefits of reinstating free movement could help mitigate some of this opposition, of course. Research consistently shows that EU migrant workers contribute more to the economy than they take in benefits. And of course, they fill critical gaps in the labor market, support public services, and contribute to innovation and growth. Highlighting these benefits could help shift public opinion and build support for the necessary changes. Joining the EU again would also require addressing broader issues related to mobility. For example, the UK would need to participate in EU programs that facilitate mobility for workers, but also students and researchers, such as Erasmus Plus and the European Employment Services or EURES network. These programs enhance opportunities for individuals and strengthen economic and cultural ties between member states. Reintegration into these initiatives would demonstrate the UK's commitment to the principles of European integration. And another important aspect is the role of regional cooperation. The EU's approach to mobility is not just about individual workers, but also about fostering collaboration between the regions. Cross-border initiatives such as joint training programs and employment projects play a vital role in promoting economic cohesion. For the UK, participating in these initiatives would require not only legislative changes, but also a shift in mindset towards greater regional cooperation. And finally, there is once again the issue of enforcement. Ensuring that employers and institutions comply with these rules on equal treatment and mobility will require robust monitoring and enforcement mechanisms. And this includes regular inspections, penalties for non-compliance, and support systems for workers who face discrimination or exploitation. Building this capacity will be essential for the UK to meet the EU standards and successfully complete this chapter. So in conclusion, Chapter 2, the freedom of movement for workers, highlights both the opportunities and, of course, the obstacles of a potential BRITURN. While the benefits of mobility are clear, the process of reinstating free movement would require significant political will, but also public support and administrative effort. And for the UK, this chapter is not just about aligning with EU rules. It's about rebuilding trust, addressing misconceptions about immigration, and demonstrating a commitment to the core values of the European Union. So thank you for joining me on this second step in our exploration of the obstacles to BRITURN. And if you found this analysis insightful, please like the video, share it, and subscribe to Outside Views for more in-depth discussions on our post-Brexit world. And of course, let's continue the conversation in the comments below the video. What do you think about the UK's ability to reinstate the freedom of movement for workers? I really look forward to your thoughts. And as always, stay informed and see you in the next video. One of those is right here in the end screen.